Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Path of Exile 2 video, and today we're going over my updated cast on crit Deadeye. This is going to be version 4. The last video did very well, and I've been wanting to update the build. However, I've just been really busy with like family and holiday stuff, so I do apologize. I haven't actually gotten that much time to play since the last update, but I did make some pretty significant changes to the build, and I've got kind of like multiple versions of it right now, and those versions are based off of kind of one, your level of investment, and two, what you want to prioritize. I've got a version of the build, and all of these are going to be in the Maxroll Planner, that is going to increase our survivability a ton, but we're going to lose a bit of damage. There's a version that gives us ridiculous clear speed that I have been using to clear breaches. Once you get some of your more points into the breach nodes, the enemy density in them get kind of insane, and I actually needed more AoE clear, and so we've got a version for that. And then we've just got the classic like Ice Shot version that I've been playing, that's basically the old build but just upgraded for way more damage now that I've gotten some gear upgrades. So we're going to be walking through all three kind of versions. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So the first version to talk about is just classic cast on crit Ice Shot. This is basically the build that I was using a few days ago, but as you can see, we've now updated it, so now our Ice Shot is at 99,000 DPS, just sitting here. When we go into a map, it gets over 120,000 damage, which is kind of insane. We've got a bunch of buffs that are like conditional, and so like, for example, things like this, 30% increased damage if you dealt a critical hit in the past 8 seconds. These kind of things aren't activating. This 20% increased damage if you've dealt a crit. These things aren't activating, obviously, standing in town. So that's why we're not quite at 100,000, but as soon as we start shooting things, we're at over 100,000 Ice Shot damage, which is awesome. And the big upgrade to like massively increase our damage with Ice Shot was picking up these gloves. Now, these gloves are very popular in a lot of builds, and that is for good reason. These are the Hand of Wisdom and Action wraps. You can farm them from the Breach boss, and they give us increased attack speed per dexterity and added lightning damage per intelligence. Now, this is massive. Putting these on, I might actually like break our kind of things currently without them on. Yeah, I don't have enough intelligence or dexterity without them on. But when I added these, they basically gave me around 20,000 extra DPS. In our last update, I think we were sitting around 50,000. Now we're at like 99,000. And that is because these just give us so much more attack speed and so much added damage. Now, this added lightning damage is converted to tons of flat cold damage with the Call of the Brotherhood, and that's part of the reason why we're getting so much extra damage from these things, is because all of this added lightning gets given to our Ice Shot to massively increase the amount of cold damage that it's hitting for. Now, in terms of like some other changes that we've made to the build, I've slightly tweaked our skill tree around just to get a little bit more damage and some more attack speed with the things that we're using. So to start in our like skill tree, I did get rid of Moment of Truth. I think this is a solid node, but I just don't think we needed it, especially the crit damage bonus. If you haven't dealt a non-crit hit recently, just isn't active against bosses. We're basically at 100% crit chance on bosses, and so this just wasn't proccing. And so instead of that, we've opted to get some more jewels. So I've got a jewel here and I've got a jewel here. And then we also ended up grabbing Kite Runner. This gives us more movement speed, and these projectile speed nodes are actually really awesome for us because projectile speed is directly translated into damage with feathered fletching. So this is 30% increased damage and 3% movement speed, and all of the nodes leading up to it are damage. And then I've got some extra jewels just for some increased damage. We picked up mainly this jewel. This cost me 1 divine orb for crit chance with attacks and bonuses from our quiver. Our quiver is giving us a ton of fizz damage, cold damage, projectile speed, crit chance, crit damage. Like getting extra bonuses from this are massive. That's the reason why we're spec'd into these 2 nodes here. And that's kind of like the main upgrade to the main build. Basically from the last version is I just picked up these and they give us tons of extra damage. Now you will note that I'm not using a dual string bow. This was my old bow. Just to give you an idea, my Ice Shot with this bow is 69,000. With this one, it's 87,000. Basically, I wanted to get an upgraded bow, but I couldn't really afford a crazy dual string. They're very, very expensive for what I'm looking for right now. And so I picked up a Warden bow, which is way cheaper. This give us a chance to chain an additional time off of terrain, which we are invested into. We're already chaining. 60% of our shots are chaining, and this gives us another 21% chance for an additional chain. And you can pick up something like this. This cost me 8 divines with a bunch of crit chance and crit damage, which I didn't have on my old bow. And that was a pretty massive increase. Now, you'll note that I'm obviously losing an arrow, and that sucks. And ideally, we'd be using a god tier dual string. But I do think there's a world where we can use a dual string for mobbing and like a normal, like maybe expert zealot bow for bossing, because the one big advantage that the dual string has, obviously, is an extra arrow. And those extra arrows make a big difference for when we're shooting Ice Shot into a pack. They don't matter at all, really, for bossing. Our lightning rod doesn't really benefit from that. The main thing is we can only have a maximum amount of lightning rods in the ground, and we have enough attack speed to basically have that maximum all the time. And so we're actually like a higher damage bow with less arrows is technically better off for lightning rod. And picking up this crit damage bonus really helped. If you're wondering how to really scale your kind of like sheet DPS, which isn't a be-all end-all, but it's really all about getting big crit chance and crit damage. I'm currently at 39% crit chance with a 458 crit damage bonus, and this is massively increasing my damage. The more crit chance, the better, and then the closer we can get to like 40%, we're going to be able to get to 100% with Eye of Winter on bosses. I'll have my full gems set up, my gear and my skill tree in the planner, but I do want to talk about the other versions of this build. Specifically, now we're going to talk about increasing our survivability, and then next we'll talk about massively increasing our clear speed. So one thing that is like pretty apparent right now in the game is that energy shield is just so much more powerful and potent as a defense source than like health and evasion. And so we were kind of trying to brainstorm on how to get energy shield onto the build. And there's one node that is a massive game changer for specifically that, and that is this node, Spectral Ward. This gives us +1 max energy shield per 12 evasion rating on our equipped body armor. My current chest piece has 1,730 evasion rating, so we have a fair bit. And just these points alone give us a massive amount of energy shield. So if we do spec into this node, it obviously costs us a few points to get up there, 6 points. I unspec'd our Kite Runner and I lost some of our jewels, so we're definitely losing some damage, but we get to pick up a bunch of energy shield. I'm at 364 right now, which, isn't a lot. I don't have increased energy shield on any pieces of gear. I've got a terrible helmet on that has no increases to energy shield. It's just like a base 101 energy shield. You could pick up 200 energy shield here pretty easily. But the big thing about being able to run energy shield is, one, we can get a ton of it pretty easily, and we can use a buff that's pretty overpowered called Grim Feast. Now, this reads that we feed on corpses to bolster our energy shield, while active enemies and reviving minions that die in your presence have a chance to drop Grim Remnants. Picking up a Grim Remnant grants you energy shield, which can overflow your max energy shield. This basically doubles the amount of energy shield that we're able to get And it also gives us a thing that's going to be constantly giving us survivability while we're killing things. So I've just got like a T15 map here, and I just wanted to like demonstrate this because it's pretty cool. And it genuinely is super helpful because it just increases our effective hit pool. So like already I'm at 728 energy shield. We basically can double whatever we've got on. I've got this thing that's got like a little bit more energy shield. And now we're at like 864. We could quality this, add increased energy shield to it, but just, you know, picking up like an additional almost 1,000 flat EHP can be incredibly powerful. If you do kind of want to full send into the energy shield and like double your survivability, you can pick up an Adziri's Disdain. This just at base can get us up to like almost 1,000 energy shield. I don't have mine like qualityed or anything or put in rune in it, but you can get like 1,000 energy shield with just kind of wearing this, which is crazy. This gains us 30% of our max life as extra energy shield, so we're gonna get a ton of energy shield, but 25 or 21% currently of our damage taken bypasses energy shield. That's fine because we're not a 1 HP build, and also we can rock cannibalism on Wind Dancer, which anytime we're killing an enemy, we're getting a bunch of life back, so we can sustain our life while we're running around, and then also get a ton of energy shield. And when you have like 1,000 base energy shield, Grim Feast is giving us 2,000. So with just like a small change to the build, we can basically double our survivability, which is really cool. Obviously, we're going to be dealing a bit less damage, but double survivability, if you're struggling with that, is awesome. The last kind of version of the build to talk about is our like breach clearing build. This is specifically designed to be able to clear maps as fast as possible, specifically highly populated or dense maps, and that is because we're adding Herald of Thunder to the build. Now, I wanted to get away to have this build be able to shock, and with the Call of the Brotherhood, we can't shock because all of our lightning damage gets converted to cold. I tried buying negatively corrupted Call of the Brotherhoods so that we would have some lightning damage. We wouldn't have all of our lightning damage converted to cold. I don't know if I didn't get one that was corrupted low enough, but basically when I was messing around with this, I wasn't, even when I still had some lightning damage, I was not able to shock. And so for this setup, we actually took off the Call of the Brotherhood, which does obviously hurt some of our damage, but it allows us to shock and deal lightning damage, and the Hand of Wisdom in action allows us to get a ton of lightning damage if we have a bunch of intelligence. And you need this unique in order to do this like third variation of the build. It is pretty mandatory because we need a ton of lightning damage. Now, when we're adding Herald of Thunder, the big downside of these skills, Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ice, is they are payoff skills. Payoff skills have a powerful extra effect when hitting enemies inflicted with specific debuffs, often consuming the debuff in the process. However, payoff skills cannot inflict the debuff they interact with. And so we need a way to shock with this build to proc Herald of Thunder, and we can actually make our Herald of Ice do that. So with Herald of Ice, we're actually going to set this up because it can't consume freeze, but it can do things with shock. We're going to make it deal more lightning damage. We're going to give it 100% more chance to shock. We're going to give it more area, and then also give it Innervate, so that whenever we're like killing a shocked enemy with Herald of Ice, we can get 35% extra lightning damage. So we're getting this big bonus, which we didn't have before, which is awesome. And then on Herald of Thunder, we're actually going to make this freeze. So we're going to get Ice Bite on Herald of Thunder to give it more cold damage, give it more freeze, build up Lightning Mastery to give it like more damage, and Long Shot for more damage. And then our just kind of running around with our Ice Shot. For example, with our stats on this right now, we are dealing like 9,584 cold, which is great, but we still actually have a fair bit of lightning damage. And that lightning damage is going to be enough to shock, to kind of set off these cascades. And what you'll see is if we have enough damage on our bow, we're able to basically just one-shot packs of enemies, which feels incredible. We're going to go find a breach, and then I'll show you what this looks like. All right, so we've got a breach, and just kind of look at how often our lightning bolts are coming down. If you see lightning bolts, that means that we're proccing our Herald of Thunder because we're killing shocked enemies. So if you see lightning bolts, that means that the things are happening that should be happening. And you should see a lot of lightning bolts. We don't have like the greatest tile set for this, but you'll see that we're able to kind of shoot into packs and just one tap so many of them. And that's because we got a ton of damage, obviously, coming out of our Ice Shot. But all of that damage can then just kind of freeze and shock at the same time. And for clearing these breaches that start to get, you know, a ton of enemies, getting that amount of just clear speed is so nice. While we don't have evasion, obviously, here, the big thing is that we're killing enemies so fast that, you know, they're not getting as much chance to even harm us, which in a way is a bit of defense. Obviously not as survivability as our first setup, and you could technically combine them both if you got another 30 spirit, but we're already pretty pressed for spirit. In order to run the dual heralds, dual herald setup with Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ice, we do have to change the skill tree just slightly because now we want to shock and we're going to be dealing lightning damage. So we pick up Essence of the Storm to gain 30% increased chance to shock, and 5% of our damage is extra lightning damage. And then we grab these nodes here for elemental magnitude of shocks. We're going to be inflicting shock, so now that shock will give us a larger multiplier, and Storm Surge gives us more cold and lightning pen. This is beneficial for obviously both of our skills, both the heralds and also our Ice Shot, to give them more damage there. And then I'm still keeping one jewel slot, and I did put 1 point into Herald Reservation just to get some extra spirit back, because when we're running 2 heralds, this isn't that great of a pickup with 1, but with 2 heralds, you can get this to have them cost less spirit. And then if you need the extra 6%, you can grab those as well. If you're trying to squeeze them in, you don't quite have enough spirit, but that's really the only change to the build. Everything else stays exactly the same. You just really need Hand of Wisdom in order to enable the amount of lightning damage to really start kicking off, so that you can shock basically on every single shot. Guys, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I know this might have been a bit confusing or a lot of information to digest, but that's what the Maxroll Planner is here for. I've got all of the different variants of the build with different kind of drop-down menus, so you can see that this is the skill tree for the core build, and then if you want to run the crazy dual herald, you can just click this button, and it'll show you that we add basically these 5 skill points to do dual heralds. If we click the energy shield, we'll unspec those points and just put 2 points here and some points up here to get Spectral Ward. And then I've also got that set up for the different skills. So we've got the core Ice Shot. You can click over to the Ice Shot Dual Herald, which just adds Herald of Thunder and swaps Herald of Ice to do electrocution things, and then removes some of the supports from Wind Dancer. And then we've got the Energy Shield, which just gets rid of the Herald of Thunder altogether and adds Grim Feast, and the Adziri Disdain over here. We've got the kind of budget gear for running, and then the more expensive end game where we add Hand of Wisdom, and then the Energy Shield variant. And so hopefully with both this planner and also this video guide, you will be able to adapt to the build to the way that you want to play. I'm going to be honest, I really just wasn't sure what kind of variant I wanted to present to you guys today, so I decided to show them all in the hopes that, one, it teaches you more about, the ways that you can adapt this build to the needs that you need out of it, but also the fact that we are pretty versatile, and whether you want to go for more just ridiculous boss damage or double your survivability, there are options to do so pretty easily, and hopefully, once I'm a little bit higher level, we can kind of incorporate all of them together. But I just wanted to share this breakdown with y'all, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're enjoying the build. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.